Hi everyone, welcome to Taking Care of You with Mrs. Magoo. We've got an interesting show for you today. First up on Vision Assist, we're going to be talking about some kitchen tips. Next, we're going to be making a quick, easy, and healthy soup. Then after that, we're going to be talking about the superfood blueberries. And then lastly, what's the one free thing that can balance your hormones, your immunity, and your mood? Well, stay tuned and I'll tell you. Okay, let's move right on to Vision Assist. Okay, so kitchen tips. I don't know about you, but a lot of times when I'm in the kitchen and I'm cooking, I often put things down on the counter and then when I go back to find them, I just can't find them at all. I think these days we have a lot on our minds, so a lot of times when we go to put something down, we're not really there when we're doing it, so we don't remember where we put it. I cannot scan a whole counter or see the end of the counter to see if, let's say I'm looking for my wire whisk. I literally have to go down the counter, feel around, see if it's on that counter. If it's not, then I have to go to another counter, feel around there looking for it, which, starts to get frustrating, and then you end up in the frustration zone, and you don't want to go there. So I came up with the idea for a tray. So here's a tray. This is a metal tray, and I painted it a medium color. And it's important that you paint it a mid-tone color because you want everything to show up on it, anything light, dark, or in between. When you have low vision, especially macular degeneration, it's really important that you have contrast to be able to see what's on the tray. So for instance, here's something dark. It shows up well on this tray. Now, if my tray was a dark navy color, or it wouldn't show up. Then here's a really light color. Still, it shows up fine on the tray. Then this is like a middle color. Still, this shows up on the tray as well. Whenever I'm in the kitchen doing anything, I take my tray out. So when you're using anything that is going to have to be picked up again, it goes on your tray. For example, let's say you're cooking and you have a wire whisk. It goes on your tray. If you're having a cup of coffee while you're cooking, it goes on your tray. If you take a lid off of a jar, it goes on your tray. That way, when you go back to use it, you'll always know where you can find it. It will be on your tray, and it saves so much time and aggravation. So I hope I drove my point home. If you're using something and you're going to have to pick it up again, it goes on the tray. Now, I used to put my tray away when I was done with it, but then I'd get in the kitchen and I'd put something down and I'd say, oh shoot, I forgot to take my tray out. So now I just leave it out on the counter all the time, so it's there. And like anything else, it's like forming a habit, getting used to using it. But when you see how much time and aggravation it saves you, you will remember. Another tip. I have trouble measuring salt out. The typical Morton cylindrical container with the little metal spout. When I try and measure some of that salt into, let's say, a quarter teaspoon, it ends up usually spilling and going all over the place. So what I did was I took a glass jar that I had saved. I think there used to be salsa or something in this jar. I labeled it salt. And so now, whenever I need salt, I just stick my measuring spoon in there, level it off. No mess and no waste. These glass jars are great. You should save them. They're great storage containers, and also they're glass so you can see what's in there. Now this is baking soda. I did the same thing. I put my baking soda in here and I just put the label on the top. So another good use for the tray is, let's say you're making a recipe. Today I'm going to be making a cake. What you want to do is you want to get all your ingredients, flour, salt, whatever. You're going to get your measuring cups, your bowl, your measuring spoons, everything you're going to need for that recipe, you're going to put on the tray. I know no one likes to do prep work. You want to jump right into the project, but this makes everything so much easier. So I'm making a cake. Now, I already put my flour in my mixing bowl, so I'm done with my flour. I take my flour away, I put it back in the pantry where it belongs. Now, I'm going to measure out a teaspoon of salt. Okay, put that in there. Okay, so I'm going to take the salt and I'm going to put it back in the cupboard. So then, oh, excuse me for 1 minute. Hello? I'm sorry, but I'm having trouble understanding you. Oh, you're with the IRS? And you have a warrant for my arrest? Why, what did I do? Well, I thought I paid my taxes. Well, okay. I could just send a check along for whatever I owe. You don't take checks? You need a credit card number right now, or they're going to throw me in jail? But I don't have a credit card. Well, yes, my father had one, but he's dead. My sister has one, but she hates me. Well, I guess you're just going to have to come and arrest me. But you know what? If you could just wait like maybe an hour, I'm right in the middle of doing a show, and I want to complete it before I end up in prison. So I really appreciate your consideration. Bye-bye now. The real IRS will never call you and ask for money over the phone. Okay, so where was I before that obnoxious, distracting call? Oh, yes, I was making a cake. Okay, so let's see. Now, did I put the flour in the bowl here? Let me see. I just look around my tray. Nope, flour's off the tray, so I know I put the flour in. Let's see, how about salt? No salt on the tray. I know I put my salt in. How about baking soda? Here's the baking soda, so I know I have not put it in my bowl yet. So you kind of get the idea. It's really helpful, and it keeps everything right where you need it. I have friends, a lot of times when they do crafting projects, they use the tray. They do the same thing. They get everything they need, and it's all there. When you're done with it, you put it away. A few other things I wanted to show you. These are measuring cups. I don't know if the camera can pick that up, but in the center, it's a dark circle, and there's, in white, the 1 measurement. In this one, it's like a 1/2 cup measurement, so they're very easy to read. Now, you can get these cups from a catalog called Maxi Aids, which I've discussed in prior shows, or if you're registered with the Commission for the Blind, they might be able to get some for you too. Another thing I wanted to show you, these are bump ups. Now these are different sticky dots, I guess you could call them. And they come in all different shapes and colors and textures. Like this one right here that has kind of a fuzzy texture. This is a square, dark one. And then I think there's a round one. But as I said, they come in all different shapes and sizes. So if you need a really large, like large orange ones, they have clear ones. And I don't know if you can, if I turn it like that, if you can see how they are bumped up, or they do kind of stick out a little bit, so you can feel them. They're very textural. My whole house is bumped up. I use bump ups on my microwave, like I might have one for the 30-second setting. Then I might have a different one for start or stop. I use them on my dishwasher. I use them on my oven. I use like a dark one for the cancel button. I use a round orange one for the bake button, because everything's digital today, so these come in really handy. I mean, they're on my washing machine too, so as I said, my whole house is bumped up. Here again, you could get these if you're registered with the Commission for the Blind. They can probably get some of these for you. But if you can go on Amazon, they have a selection of 100 of them for like $10, all different shapes, sizes, textures. It's a lot. It'll probably last you your lifetime. Coming up next, we're going to be making a quick and easy and healthy soup. So this recipe is called taco soup, and I got it from a friend who got it from her mother, and her mom was from down south. It has 5 ingredients. It's really easy to make. First of all, you're going to need chicken broth. Then you're going to need 2 cans of pinto beans, and you're going to want to rinse these. Then you're going to need a jar of salsa verde. So salsa verde is green salsa. It's not the same as the regular salsas that you get. You can find it in the supermarket. It is with all the regular salsas, but you don't want regular salsa. You want salsa verde. And you can tell this jar is different. It's a little taller and it's a little thinner than your typical salsa jar. And then you're going to need a cooked chicken. Now, I love these supermarket cooked chickens. They make everything so much easier. And you know what? They're darn cute, too. But if you want to cook a chicken yourself, that's fine. But I always go for easy. So I already made the soup for you. Watch this. So for taco soup, this is what you're going to need. You're going to need 2 15.5-ounce cans of pinto beans rinsed. You're going to need a 15-ounce jar of salsa verde, that's green salsa. You're going to need chicken broth, and you're going to need a cooked chicken. So I have all the ingredients on my tray that I need. See, I practice what I preach. So here I've got all the cut up chicken. And you know, if you get a cut up chicken from the grocery store, really check it out, because most of them have a rubber band around them, so make sure you look for that and discard it. You don't want anybody choking and dying at your dinner table. So I'm just going to take my chicken, I'm going to dump it in my pot. Now the original recipe called for throwing the chicken skin in with the soup. So really, the choice is yours. I know the chicken skin will add a lot of flavor, but it also adds a lot of fat, so I just opt to leave it out. Then I have my 2 cans of pinto beans, which I have rinsed. Those go in there. And I have my jar of salsa verde. Just empty that in there. And then I have my chicken broth. The original recipe called for like 3 cups of chicken broth, but I tend to use more. I like my soup a little thinner. If you like it like the consistency of a stew, then just use 2 or 3 cups of the chicken broth. But you know, just add whatever you like to get it to the consistency that you want. Okay, that looks good to me. Okay, so I have everything in my pan. Wasn't that easy? Now this is delicious just the way that it is, but there's other things you can add if you like. Sometimes I saute mushrooms and green peppers. I throw those in there. Every now and then I'll throw in a can of rotel. And rotel is diced tomatoes with green chilies. Rotel is spicy, so if you don't like spicy, don't add in rotel. But if you have any other vegetables around that you want to throw in, be creative, make it your own. So now all I have to do is simmer this for a few minutes, just till everything is warmed up. You don't want to overdo it, because remember, the chicken's already cooked. So I'm just going to simmer this probably for 8 minutes till everything's all nice and warmed up. Now I've simmered this for probably 8 minutes, just till everything was warmed up, and I've dished myself out a bowl. Now you can eat this as it is, naked, so to speak, or there's lots of different things you can put on for toppings. One, and my absolute favorite, is grated cheese. You can grate your own cheese, or you can use the grated cheese that you find at the store. It's wonderful. It melts. Oh my gosh, it's so good. Also here, I have some blue corn chips, which I put into a Ziploc bag. And I'm just going to take a coffee mug and smash them up. Now I can take those and sprinkle that on top of my soup. Or you could put a dollop of sour cream. You could maybe throw some cilantro on top of it. But however you choose to eat it, enjoy it. Coming up next, the superfood blueberries. So blueberries are very high up on the superfood list. They're one of the most nutrient-dense berries. They contain vitamin C, vitamin K, fiber. But you know, the most important thing about blueberries is they have the highest level of antioxidants out of any fruit or berry. All these buzzwords like antioxidants, free radicals, what do they all mean? Well, I had no idea. So I researched them. So here's my very simple explanation. Antioxidants are compounds that are found in your food, such as blueberries, and they can prevent or delay damage to your cells. Now, they accomplish this by cleansing waste products from your system. Now, these waste products are called free radicals, and free radicals are generated by the air we breathe, like air pollution, things in the water that we drink, medications that we may be taking, or even the food that we eat. So antioxidants are good, free radicals are bad. So whenever you see a food that is high in antioxidants, you know it's good for you. Blueberries are also good for your brain. They can delay mental aging. That's why sometimes they call them brain berries. So how can we incorporate blueberries into our diet? Well, you could just eat them plain. A cup is only 84 calories, so that's guilt-free eating for you. You could throw them on your cereal or your oatmeal in the morning. You could mix them with some yogurt, some other fruit, and some flaxseed. That would be a great breakfast to have. You can bake with them. You can make blueberry muffins. But my favorite way to eat blueberries is I take a bowl full of blueberries and I take a big old scoop of vanilla ice cream and put it right on top. So good. So try and incorporate blueberries into your diet at least a couple of times a week if you can. When the fresh aren't available, they're always frozen, so those are just as good too. Okay, coming up next, the one free thing. Okay, what is the one free thing that can balance your hormones, your mood, and your immunity? It's hugging. Research has shown that hugging has physical as well as emotional benefits. When you get a hug, your heart rate goes down, your blood pressure goes down, it releases all those feel-good hormones. When you get a hug, all of your muscles relax. And when all your muscles are relaxed, all the tension leaves your body. It was interesting. They studied some sports teams, and they found that the teams that had some sort of physical contact before a game always seemed to outperform teams that didn't have any physical contact at all. There's so many stress-related illnesses today. And when I say stress-related illnesses, I mean you have so much worry, anxiety, fear, and stress that it physically makes you sick. All that stress can cause headaches, stomach aches, body aches, all different kinds of illnesses. Now, there's a hormone called cortisol, and cortisol is a stress-related hormone, so it's no good. The more stress you have, the higher your levels of cortisol. The higher your levels of cortisol, the increase in the chance that you will become physically sick. But not to worry. Hugs to the rescue. When you get a hug, it will prevent cortisol from traveling through your brain, which is a good thing. The study showed that people who had physical contact throughout their day got sick less often than people that didn't have contact throughout their day. So what's not to love about hugs? Now, you may be saying to yourself, but Mrs. Magoo, I don't have anybody to hug. But that's okay. Don't worry. It's no problem. There's plenty of other ways you can reap the benefits from hugging. Now, let's see. Number one, I would say, is hugging a pet. Hugging your own pet or hugging a friend's pet. That's just as effective as hugging a human being. Something else you can do is hug a stuffed animal. Studies show you still get the benefits of hugging from hugging a stuffed animal. Now here I got my stuffed teddy bear, Bubba, so I'm just going to give Bubba a big hug. Oh, I feel my blood pressure going down already. So you could hug a pillow. You could hug a blanket. You can hug anything as long as it's comfortable for you. Maybe something soft, something cozy, maybe a little fuzzy. I mean, I don't think that you'd see me hugging my toaster, but you still reap the benefits, not as many from hugging a human, but you still get a lot of the benefits from hugging pillows, stuffed animals, anything you can get your hands on. Now, research says that we should get a minimum of 6 minutes a day of physical contact, and that's the minimum. And you know what? What about giving yourself a hug? There, Mrs. Magoo. Life is good. Everything's going to be just fine. Now that was very comforting. So try and find the time today to hug somebody or something. It's so good for you. Okay, that's all the time I have for today. Before I sign off, I want to take a minute to thank my most excellent producer, Becky Tober. Becky works really hard to help me put the show together. And most importantly of all, she fixes all my mistakes. So thank you, Becky. You are the best. Our quote of the day is, "When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change." And that was said by Dr. Wayne Dyer. Thanks everybody for joining me today. And please don't forget to take the time to take care of you. And you know what? Take the time to give yourself a big old hug. You deserve it. Bye for now. I'll see you soon.